Before we even go into anything real deep, though, just off of your own take, did you see anything irregular here? Anything triggering? Anything that would provoke any type of emotion of any negativity? Well, like, what was your thoughts on it initially when you watched this video?
I mean, as everything else, man, it goes to the demographic of who you're talking about. If you're in that type of environment, you're in that type of mindset. Um, I guess that you can say if you're in that environment, then what do you expect? So I don't really have anything else to say about it. If you're in a club and there's a twerking contest, there's a potential that you may be selected to be a participant. That says that you're willing to put yourself in that environment. So I guess you're open to that.
Uh, Initial thoughts. Hubby didn't know that she was going to be there, and he sure as hell didn't know that she was going to be dressed like that when he showed up. I wonder how he found out that she was in that competition. Um, I'm kind of flabbergasted, not because of the environment there, because like you said, that look at the setup. Of course, you expect that, but nah, the husband was not on that type of time. He didn't come in there on that type of time to me, which means to some degree there was some deception on her part that got her in there. And the women who are cheering her on, they're part of the problem. And I'm gonna touch on that here in a second. But those are my initial thoughts. Everything about that just seemed mad disrespectful. I understand the setting they're in. I don't understand how anybody could look at what he did and find a problem with it.
Yeah, and so I'll just say, man, to each his own. It's all about perspective. I'm not saying either one of them handled themselves the correct way or not, but I would say there's definitely some insecurities on his part. If somebody's going into that type of establishment, if you want to act like you don't know what's going on, or you want to act like you don't know what can perceive to happen in that type of environment, then that's just being naive. Because again, it's about having those conversations, and that just shows the insecurities in both parts. Because I'm sure if it was on the other part, if it was on the other, if the man was in there dancing or doing some stuff and was caught doing something, then that freedom of being in that establishment and the understanding that what goes on in an establishment, if you choose to engage, it doesn't warrant the reaction. Again, the lack of insecurity is what initiates the reaction, is because there's ways of handling that, and you let it, not necessarily handling it that way out in public, but you to start it out, you started by saying emotional responses, and that's what triggers emotional responses. So that's where the difference goes into play. Again, having that security and having those conversations, your reaction isn't that way. You handle it a different way. So that's where you inject the lack of maturity and the emotion. On top of, could be fueled by alcohol and drugs as well in that environment. But those are just options. Not saying that that's what's actually happening.
That's true. But let me ask you a question. Do you honestly believe that they had a conversation prior to this? He knew what she was about to get involved in, and everything was fine. He said, okay, you're about to go up here and essentially show your body off to a bunch of strangers for some money. Are you going to be okay with that as my husband? And he agreed to it, and then later on decided that he no longer was comfortable with it.
I absolutely think it's possible that they could have had that conversation, and then he saw her up there on stage getting all that attention, and then this disingenuine thing that people try to do is, I don't care what you do, go out and do it. And then when you actually see somebody doing it and you see the reception that they're receiving, and that's where you differentiate the likes and the clicks from online and real person. You can't hide that emotion behind the screen. You can pretend to be tough and say you don't care. And then when you actually see somebody engaging in those type of activities and that dopamine kicks in, that reception of how they feel that they may not have been receiving from you, it definitely can trigger an emotional response. And that's typically what happens in these type of environments. Somebody get busted upside the head with a bottle. You know what I mean? Somebody get the shit slapped out of them, whatever the case may be. Again, inject emotions and reactions that you didn't anticipate.
It's hard for me to believe that he would agree to something and then, because like if you agree to it, that would tell me that there's other things that she has participated in that you're already used to.
You're moving the goalposts. We were just talking about her twerking on the stage in a
Well,
competition.
what my point is, why would he crash out over this if she's already used to doing stuff like that?
I just gave you 3 or 4 examples. It could be alcohol, it could be jealousy, it can be whatever stuff they talked about. It's just like people that have threesomes, and then one day they have a threesome with somebody who's maybe more attractive than the person that they were had previous threesomes with, and then they get mostly evolved and they react a different way, but they say they want that lifestyle. It's the type of stuff you see every day right now that's happening online with somebody being shot, from being entangled in some type of entanglement. That's something that one or the other person in the relationship thought they were willing to accept. I mean, you always got, like Mike Tyson said, you got a plan until somebody punch your ass in the mouth. I mean, you're acting like people can't change and they aren't emotional.
So in layman's terms, this man signed up for a relationship that he couldn't handle.
No, his emotion took over, and he saw his old lady up there on stage getting some attention that he probably couldn't, wasn't comfortable with her receiving that level of attention. That's what I'll just say that part.
I'm looking at it from a broader perspective, right? This is one incident. This isn't the only one. She's an attractive woman. I mean, you met her in a certain environment, right? So if what you're suggesting is this incident shows that there's some things within him that he has never worked out, and so he projects it onto her, and she really doesn't have much of a part in this, that would mean that she was always like that when he met her. He didn't have no boundaries. He didn't have no standards. He lied and said he was okay with her being the way she is, and he never really was. So this is just another example of him crashing out on her, acting as if he's okay with her doing certain stuff, but he really isn't, because he never put his foot down at the beginning of the relationship. Because if he was never really okay with it, why go along with it and say that you are, and then 5 minutes later you ready to rock bottom everybody in the club or crash out because you see something that you ain't okay with. This, you can't just be insecure like that overnight.
So you're saying people don't have boundaries? You can't be okay with something and then they cross that threshold where you're no longer okay again? Is that what you're saying?
I think in this case, if you have boundaries and they cross them, then you have every right to feel how you feel. Now, how you react to it is one thing. Me personally, I would have snatched her ass up off of there too. But see, to be honest with you, I'm not even dealing with somebody like that. If you even give me the impression that you dress like that out in public, or you attention seeking like that, I'm not even going that far with you in the first place. But I don't know. That shit weird to me, bro.
Hey man, eating Brussels sprouts can be weird. People didn't eat them back in the day. Now they're one of the most popular things that's on the menu because some genius came along and started frying them instead of boiling them.
Yeah.
Things change, man. That's all I'm saying. It's shit changes. That's all. You know what I mean? Things happen in waves and drones. And then I don't know anything about these people in the video, but if alcohol is involved, which a lot of the times in that type of setting, alcohol is involved, uh, vaping, smoking. You know what I mean? If there's extracurricular activities involved, and you're talking about regulating somebody's emotions, on top of being on top of those stimulants, that's, as the young folks say, that's cap. That ain't no way you can regulate your emotions just from somebody talking to you and people engaging with people in the comment section. And now you're talking about throwing alcohol and all these other things on type of life, and you know what I mean, things happening. So I like to think it was that cut and dry, and maybe it wasn't. I mean, it can go either way. I'm just providing a different perspective. That's all.
No, it makes sense. I get it, because there's a lot of people out there like that. I leaned a little more towards the side of she don't really respect her dude
Or herself.
or herself, for that matter. And I guess that's going to be subjective in a lot of eyes of people, because the women in the audience, they felt like, let her dance, let her go ahead and do her thing. And then there was people in the comments section that was saying what you said. Oh, he's insecure. What are you talking about? That's his wife. Why would he be comfortable with that? I mean, you got some people out here that's into uh polygamy and doing the little weird co-mingling relationship swinger stuff. There's people like that. This didn't come off like that to me though. He seemed like he was genuinely pissed off, and it could be the alcohol. They could have been there the whole time. He could have drove her there, outfit and everything. He could be a sugar daddy. He could very well be everything that you said he was. I don't see anybody being that angry to the point of where they get up, walk towards the stage right before you get ready to do what you about to do, and then just say, nah, this ain't going on. But I guess it's to each his own. Now I have a question. I'm trying to word this very carefully. Is it okay? Damn, that's a loaded question too. This is going to be preference. Is it okay, or is it acceptable to do what